so that we can finish on time. Thank you and welcome everybody for coming. I hope that you and your families are doing well and staying safe during this very unusual time that we're all going through. Just a reminder, as Amy put in the chat box, everybody is muted upon entry into the room just to minimize background noise. We don't need to hear a lot of dogs and babies and TVs. But we have opened the chat box. If you have any questions or comments or anything that you would like to include or ask, go ahead and just put it in the chat. Amy, I, and our guest speaker are going to be monitoring that area, and we'll be able to stop and ask any questions that you all might have. Before we begin, we have a couple of announcements. We have several upcoming lunch and learns that we invite everybody to. We have one scheduled on June 3rd with Stevie Ray's Improv Company. He is focusing on how to make your Zoom meetings more engaging, which I'm very excited about because I'm sure I could do a lot of different things to do that. We have one on June 10th with attorney Lucas Elliott. He is with Frost Brown Todd. He will be discussing the Deepwater Horizon case. For more information on either one of those, you can contact me or Amy Wade. That information is also going to be in our newsletter that's coming out in June. So we will also be providing CLE certificates for all of our lunch and learns. If you need copies of those, please email me at jennifer.mustaine@wallerlaw.com. I'll also put that in the chat box at the very end, so you can go ahead and write that down. Lastly, this presentation is going to be recorded, and if anybody would like a copy of it, we usually post those on our Nashville NALS Facebook page, and also we'll email those out as well. So we would like to thank our guest speaker, Brad Wickard. He is a vice president at Huseby Global Litigation and head of the marketing department. In 2013, Brad played a vital role in developing Huseby's platform for remote video conferencing depositions. This platform is called HusebyConnect. Brad, thank you so much for being here with us today, and we have been looking forward to this discussion. I'll let you take over from here. I'm going to mute myself.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Jennifer, for the introduction, and we appreciate everybody giving us some of your time this afternoon. I do look forward to answering any questions that you have. And initially, as we go through the presentation, if you have any questions, certainly feel free to put them in the chat, and I will glance over there as much as I can to see if I can answer those questions. And then at the end, hopefully we can have open up for any additional questions that anybody might have. But as I'm sure you can imagine, with the circumstances that we're under right now, we certainly have seen a huge influx in the amount of people that are looking for alternative ways to take and attend depositions outside of their typical in-person depositions. And so we've had a great influx of interest into our platforms. And so we've been given a lot of these demos and talking to a lot of people across the country and actually across the world about different technologies that you may not have seen before. What we're going to talk about today is our proprietary technology called HusebyConnect. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can show you our platform. A lot of web conferencing platforms that you may have joined in the past, basically you're typically sent a link for you to be able to join that particular event. Through HusebyConnect, we actually provide you with your own access to a private portal. And anytime that you are set up within HusebyConnect, you'll get an automated welcome email that's sent to you with a link in it that allows you to create a password. And then once you do that, you have access to that private portal. And there are 3 different sections of the portal that you should be able to see on the screen. That first section is the welcome screen or your calendar screen, and any events that you're invited to will show up on this calendar screen. And on the day of the event, you'll have a Join Now button that will appear to allow you to have access to that particular event. You also have 2 additional tabs within your portal. One of those is a case management tab. And the case management tab allows you to gain access to any content that is created during the event. And really, there are 2 types of content that could be created during the HusebyConnect event. One of those is if you receive a real-time transcript feed, then you can get access to the draft version of that real-time feed to use immediately after the deposition. And then also any exhibits that are presented, marked, and saved during the deposition will automatically be saved in that portal as well. And to access your content, you would choose your case on the left-hand side, and then the transcript, you have an icon that appears next to any witnesses that you received a real-time feed from, and you can simply click on that icon and open up that draft version of the transcript. And any annotations such as bookmarks, notes, or issue codes that you make during the deposition will automatically carry over into your portal, and it's actually auto-saved every 2 minutes for you. And you can actually, and we'll show you how this works within the live tool, but you can actually use the transcript and work from it inside of the portal after the deposition is over. So as an example, I can double click on any of these lines and I can continue to add any types of issue codes or notes that I would like to. You also have the ability to export this transcript into a couple different formats, one being a text format where you can include your books and bookmarks and notes if you would like, and then also a PDF format. And this is a format that is importable into transcript management platforms such as Summation or TextMap or CaseMap. And then we mentioned exhibits. So as those exhibits are presented, marked, and saved, they're automatically saved in the portal for you. And you can either double click on any one of these exhibits to download locally, or you can actually batch select a group of exhibits that you would like to be able to download locally onto your computer to work from. And you have a couple different ways to search the portal. You can filter by witness name, or you can search by date range. And the third section of the portal is the exhibit practice module. And so keep in mind that as we walk through the live version of the tool, you actually have a practice module that you can work from to practice presenting your exhibits prior to the start of the deposition. One of the sections that I'll just walk through now while I'm in this practice module is this preloaded documents section. Because I've got a couple documents that I've already preloaded, so I can show you how it works. But basically, this is an exact replica of the live version, so anything that you can do within the practice module, you would be able to do within the live tool. And prior to the start of your deposition, we recommend that you preload the documents that you think you're going to use in this preloaded documents section. And again, it works the same way here in this practice module as it does in the live tool. And it's partly to help you just kind of have those exhibits for, right in front of you to be able to easily present. But it also takes out some of the upload time, especially if your documents are a little bit larger in size. And to do that, you would simply click Upload Document. And let me find my demo folder here. And so you can batch select a group of documents that you would want to preload. If one of our best practice recommendations is if you have a bunch of documents that you need to preload, that you could do those in like batches of 10, just in case one happens to error out. It's easy to recognize that one and be able to add that back in. When you do preload, let me select a couple here just to show you. When you do preload, keep hitting cancel. when you do preload, you can, you'll notice that I have two sections in my preloaded documents. One is my private queue and one is my shared queue. The system defaults to private, meaning that if you only click save and you don't click is shared, then it'll go just into a private queue. You do have the option to click is shared on any one of these documents and it would go into a shared queue. Really the difference between the two is they're only there for presentation purposes. You can't download locally from the queue, but the private queue is strictly private to you, meaning you're the only one that can see those. The shared queue would allow others that were logged in to see that something was preloaded. So opposing counsel would be able to see that something was located within that queue. Generally, you would uncheck any of these and you would strictly upload it, everything privately onto your computer, into your private queue. And I do have a question: if I preload exhibits, when are they able to be viewed by opposing counsel? So I kind of partly answered that there. If you preload them into the shared queue, then opposing counsel would be able to see that they are there. If you preload them privately, opposing counsel can only see something you actually pull in direct, that you open into the shared view when you're in presentation mode. So again, anything you preload privately, only you can see. So great question. So we're going to go ahead and jump over into the live tool here. And I'm going to start my demo transcript. And I will need to stop my video in the main one so that I can share my video within the application itself. And so this is the live version of HusebyConnect. And again, this is a proprietary application that we developed in 2013. And really, we developed it to mirror a lot of the same things that you would have available to you if you were sitting in the same room across the conference room table from the court reporter and from the witness, but to be able to have those tools available to you in a remote setting. And this is what the screen would look like if you said to us, you know, we'd like to have everything available to us for our next deposition. And there are three core components of the application. The first being the video, the second being the real-time feed, and the third being the exhibit presentation module. The tool is flexible enough that it allows us to mix and match things that we put on the screen for you or make available to you based off of what your needs are. So you may tell us on one deposition that you really need the real-time feed, and you might tell us on another deposition that you don't. And because you're looking at my admin screen, you can actually see some templates that we've developed on the right-hand side of the screen that allow us or our support team to easily shift and move things around based off of what your needs are. So taking things off and adding things on for particular depositions. But I'm going to show you what it looks like with everything on, if that's what you need for your next event. So with regards to video, the video shows up within this window, and this is what it would look like if just the witness was showing themselves on video. It's up to counsel on whether you want to show yourself or not. Some attorneys like to show themselves because they want to have as much face-to-face interaction as they can, and others don't. And so it's kind of a preference on your end. If there was more than one person showing themselves on video, there are a couple ways that that can be displayed. If you can see my icons up here at the top, one is our checkerboard format. So similar to what you would see in the Zoom meeting that you logged into today, everybody would be in a same size picture within that video window. We also have what we call our film strip view, which is the second icon, where the witness would show up in a bigger picture within the window and each counsel would show up in smaller pictures below the witness. If you did want a recording of the witness's video, then you would still request a videographer the same way that you would in an in-person deposition. And that videographer will independently record the witness's video, and then you'll get the video synchronized with the transcript the same way you would have before the pandemic. The reason that we don't blanket record the web conference is really two reasons. One, when you blanket record the web conference, you're literally recording everything on the screen. So it's really not a trial ready recording. but two, that blanket recording doesn't go on and off the record with you as a videographer does. And so you're essentially recording a hot mic, and you might record some stuff that you don't want recorded. And so that videographer will take you on and off the record the same way they would have if they were across the conference room table from the witness. On the bottom left-hand side, real-time transcript feed. And this is not voice-to-text recognition. This is actually a real-time feed directly from the court reporter. There are a couple ways that you can use your transcript. One of those ways is you can keyword search it. So if I start typing in the word deposition, anywhere where that word appears within the transcript will automatically populate in my search dropdown. And I can click on any one of those sections and jump right back to that portion of the transcript at any time. The second way, and one of the most popular ways that clients use the transcript, is to bookmark lines. And to do that, you simply click on a line and hit your space bar on your keyboard. And you'll notice that it put a bookmark on the left-hand side of that line. That allows you to keep your focus on what's going on in the deposition without having to worry about trying to write down or paraphrase what the witness said. If there's something that you want to be able to go back and reference later within the deposition, you just simply click on a line and hit that space bar and bookmark the line. To access those bookmarks, you have this My Annotations drop-down right above the transcript. And if I select that drop-down, you'll notice that those two sections that I bookmarked showed up here. And you'll also notice that the text within that line appears within my drop-down. So it's easy for me to go back and reference the things that I want to be able to jump back to pretty easily. And the third way that you can use the transcript is you can double-click on any line, and you can add notes and highlights and issue codes. And prior to the start, or really at any point during the deposition, you can manage those issue codes using this Manage Labels button. And if I click on that button, I can double-click on any one of these issues, and if I just type in test issue and hit save, use my drop-down, any of those issues that I create will show up on that drop-down. And then I can type in, your test note goes here, and hit save. And then when I use my Annotations drop-down again, you'll notice that my test issue now shows up, and I can actually hover over my note and read what my note says. So we tried to make everything as accessible as we could within that Annotations dropdown, so it's easy for you to be able to get back to or reference things that you marked up in the transcript at any point during the deposition. As I mentioned earlier when we were looking at the portal, any of these bookmarks, issue codes, and notes that you make automatically carry over into your portal, so you have instant access to those immediately after the deposition. One of the questions that somebody just had, which was the next thing I was going to go over, so you're spot on your question, is, are the deposition notes in the transcript private? And yes, they are completely private to you. So anything you do within this transcript, only you can see. And in fact, because you're looking at my admin view, I can show you this. We actually have control over who can view the transcript and who can save the transcript. So just because somebody is logged into the deposition doesn't mean they have access to the real-time feed. They specifically need to request it in order to have access to it. Now that we've talked about the video and the real time, we're going to jump over into the exhibit presentation. So on the right-hand side of our screen are all of the ways that we can present new exhibits. And there are a couple different sections of this. One is the exhibit history. And the exhibit history is any previously marked exhibits within your case that you want to be able to have access to in your current or future depositions within that case. And as you present, mark, and save new exhibits within that deposition, just like they save in your portal, they'll automatically save in the exhibit history as well. And you can sort the exhibit history in a couple ways, one by witness name and one by exhibit number. And then you can also minimize or expand different sections of that exhibit history to get to the witness that you're looking for. And then you would simply click the open button and pull one of those exhibits in directly from your computer or directly from the exhibit history. On the right-hand side are all of the ways that you can present new exhibits. We did talk about the preloaded documents section in the practice module, but just to kind of reiterate that preloaded section is right here. And to do so, prior to the start of the deposition, you'd simply click Upload Document and browse your computer for a bunch of exhibits. You can click on a batch group of exhibits. And then once again, if you don't click Is Shared, everything is private once you click Save, but you can specifically click ones that you would want to put into a shared queue. You may preload 20 documents prior to the start of your deposition, but you may only end up using 10. If you only mark 10 of the 20 that you preload, we only retain the ones that you mark and save into records. So anything that you preload and you don't actually add into the exhibit history, we don't retain a copy of that. If at any point during the deposition, either the line of questioning goes a way that you didn't think it was going to go, or maybe you forgot to preload something that you need, you can always click Open PDF and pull an exhibit in directly from your computer. And I'll go ahead and do that. I'll click on an exhibit right now. And that'll load in here momentarily. One of the reasons why we do recommend that preloaded section is that it just takes out some of the upload time, so the document will load a little bit quicker through that preloaded section. So now that we've got this document up and we're ready to start to use it, the first thing that you would do is you would click Add Stamp. And this allows you to add a couple different types of stickers to the exhibit. One, you can add different types of confidential stickers. And two, you can add different types of exhibit stickers. I'm going to go ahead and add this generic exhibit sticker and place it on the document. One of the questions that we had is, do we pre-number the exhibits, or does Huseby number them as they're exhibited during the deposition? So we're kind of talking about that right now, and hopefully we'll answer your question. So when I place that exhibit sticker on the document, you might have noticed that it automatically numbered at exhibit 120. That's because I have this particular demo set to automated numbering so that you can see what that looks like. The system does default to manual numbering. Automated numbering is a case-specific setting that you would need to request us to add to that case at the very beginning, because it's not something that we can change once the case gets going. But automated numbering assumes that you're going to start at exhibit 1 for each witness, and you're going to sequentially number for that witness. The system will recognize if there are multiple days of the same witness, and say you end on exhibit 119 on day 1 and you need to start at exhibit 120 on day 2, it will automatically start at that next number in line. If manual numbering, which again is the default setting, is the one that you have set for your particular deposition, we do have the safeguard that the system doesn't allow you to duplicate numbers for the same witness. So if you had tried to type in exhibit 119 here, you would have actually gotten a pop-up message on the screen that said 119 has already been used. You might consider 120 as the next in line. So it gives you the suggestion of the next unused exhibit number in order. One other thing to note is that the system only allows for numeric values within the exhibit sticker numbering. So now that we have placed that exhibit sticker on the document, and we recommend for readability of the transcript that you place that exhibit sticker on before you start asking questions. And that way you're referencing the exhibit number anytime you're asking questions about that document. So typically in an in-person deposition, when you're handling hard copy exhibits and you hand the witness a document, say this 11-page document that you want to ask questions about, you might also hand opposing counsel a courtesy copy. Well, the document that we have here on the screen is what we call our shared copy, meaning anything that anybody does to that document, everybody else can see. So nobody can flip through that document independently on their own. That's why we have this attorney file share tool on the left-hand side of the video. And the attorney file share tool, in 3 clicks of a button, allows you to electronically hand opposing counsel a courtesy copy of the same document you pulled up on the screen. And so if I click Upload File, and I click Browse My Computer, and I can just click on that same document that I just pulled up here, and now opposing counsel can click on this document and download that file locally onto their computer. So while you're asking questions about the first page of this document, opposing counsel can flip through the courtesy copy to look ahead if they need to. The question I just had is, can you bait stamp exhibit pages during the presentation from your tools? The answer to that is no, you can't use the tool to sequentially bait stamp the pages. You could use the text function to add bait stamps to a bottom if you wanted to. Generally, most clients present documents that they've already bait stamped because they want to reference specific pages as they're asking questions, especially on bigger files. So now that I've handed opposing counsel the courtesy copy, I'm ready to ask the witness questions about what I've marked as Exhibit 120. And I'm going to demote my other login to the witness level, which is the participant level, so that you can see what the witness can see. And so I'm going to pull that view over onto my screen. And you'll notice that right now, the witness just has view-only rights, meaning they don't have access to these annotation tools. And they also don't have an active scroll bar because the scroll bar is not turning red when they hover over it. That's because you have complete control over that document until you're ready to give annotation and scroll rights to the witness. And so, you know, logically, if you hand the witness an 11-page document, your first question is, do you recognize what I've put in front of you and marked as Exhibit 120? Their likely response is going to be, well, I need to be able to flip through the document in order to tell you if I recognize that document. Up at the top of your screen, you have a delegate button, and you can select the witness's name from that drop down, and you can click that delegate button. And when I do that and I pull the witness's view back up, now you'll see that those annotation tools are available. And when I hover over that scroll bar, that's now active, and they have the ability to scroll through that. And when I do scroll through the document in the witness view, you'll also notice that it scrolls through on your screen simultaneously. And in addition, if the witness was to make an annotation to the document, say they were to select the outline and draw an outline around table 3, that simultaneously appears on your screen. So just like the scroll, when a witness makes an annotation, anything they're looking at or doing, you can see as they're doing it. Once you're ready to take away those rights from the witness, either you can click Done Editing at the top of your screen, or they can click it. I'm going to click it here. So when I do that, you'll notice that it takes away those annotation tools again, and that scroll bar is not active. So you, as the questioning attorney, now have complete control over that exhibit. So now let's talk a little bit about annotations. And the question that was just asked, can you save the witness's annotations on the final exhibit? The answer is yes, and we're going to kind of walk through how that works now. So your question is very timely. I appreciate that. So prior to saving the exhibit, you have the ability to edit or adjust any of the annotations that were made to the exhibit, or take them off before you save it if you don't want it to be a part of the final exhibit. So on your editor tools, you have this change move function. And if I click on that and I click on this annotation, I have the ability, if I wanted to move that annotation around And I can also, you know, grab those corners and make it bigger or smaller. I can hit delete on my keyboard and delete it off. So if I wanted to just use that annotation as a point of reference, but I didn't in fact want it to be a part of the final exhibit, then I can delete that off at any point. I can also click the undo button if I want to bring something back on to the exhibit that I might have accidentally deleted off. So you can also, you know, maybe on the record you want to say any annotations that the witness makes to the exhibit, I want to be in the color blue. So I'm going to click on that annotation and I'm going to click on my color wheel and I'm going to change the color of that annotation to blue. And then in addition, any of the annotations that I make as the questioning attorney, I want to be in red. So I'm going to select the red color and I'm going to choose the arrow and I'm going to draw an arrow on that particular document. And before I save this, I'm going to show you one of my other favorite annotation tools is you can change the transparency of a shape. So if I select this drop down underneath the color and I move this slider over to say 30%, and I'm going to choose blue because I think that color works the best. And I'm going to select this solid shape. And then that allows me to draw a big broad highlight around a section of the exhibit. But the way that this is used kind of more popularly within depositions is you can click on that change move tool and you can click on that highlight and you can move that around. So if I want to focus attention on a specific section, you know, maybe I want to just scroll down and focus on that particular table, I can use that highlight to do that. And again, I can move it around to other sections of that exhibit as well. But if I don't want to save that as a part of the final exhibit, once I click on it, I can hit delete on my keyboard and I can delete that right off. So now we have another good question. Can a paralegal be the one handling the exhibits from their laptop while the attorney is deposing the witness from their own laptop? That is a terrific question, and the answer is a resounding yes. And that's actually a very popular thing for clients to do, to have a first chair attorney that's asking questions and either a paralegal or a second chair attorney that's kind of handling the documents. The great thing about that is if you have a paralegal or a second chair attorney that's pulling up the documents, adding the exhibit sticker on it, handing the courtesy copy to opposing counsel, the first chair attorney still has complete control over the document that's up on the screen. So no matter if the paralegal pulls that document up and adds a sticker, the first chair attorney can be the one that handles the annotations, the delegation of the witness, moving through the document, that kind of thing, and the paralegal can then save it at the end. So terrific question there. After I've zoomed in, if I want to pop this back out, I just click this fit to page, and that'll pop that page back out into normal view. I can also rotate pages. So if there are specific pages that make more sense in landscape view than in portrait view, I can rotate those specific pages. And when I save it, it's actually going to save within that orientation. And then also, if I had a bigger document, this one's an 11-page one, so it's not a big deal to scroll through this one. But if I had a 50, 60, 100 or more page document, I may want to select a specific page and I could type in 9 and hit enter and jump to that specific page of the document. So now we'll scroll back up here momentarily, and we've got these annotations that we now want to make a part of that final exhibit. And so I'm going to go ahead and click save because I'm done asking questions. And so when I click save, you'll notice that I got this pop-up message that said, are you sure you're finished annotating? Because once you save it, the document's going to become non-editable. And the reason why is because when you add that exhibit sticker or when you add annotations on top of the original PDF, you're adding layers on top. And the way PDFs work is if you don't flatten those layers, then somebody can take that PDF later, put it into Adobe Acrobat, and make changes to those annotations. Well, if you have annotations that you want to be a part of the final exhibit, we want to flatten those layers for you, so we're preserving the integrity of everything that you wanted as a part of that final document, so that it can't be edited later. So I'm going to go ahead and click yes here. And we'll see some cogs turning while we flatten those pages on this document. And so now we've got Exhibit 120 saved into record. And if I scroll down on my pages here, you'll see that here are those annotations that we made. And you'll also notice that it saved page 5 in that portrait orientation that we did earlier as well. So when I click Close PDF, and I scroll down here on my exhibit history, you'll notice here's Exhibit 120 with today's date and time, and I'm on the East Coast. I'm a little bit ahead of you, so it's a little bit after 1 my time. So when that's saved in the exhibit history, it automatically saved in your portal for you. What it also did was it automatically saved in the court reporter's portal as well. So the chain of custody is very similar to you handing the court reporter a hard copy exhibit to produce with the record. You're essentially electronically handing the court reporter a copy of that exhibit to produce with the transcript. We've talked about presenting documents in PDF format. You may have some exhibits that you would need to present in a native format other than PDF. To do that, you would click Stop Sharing up here at the top of your screen. And you would either click Share Document or Share My Screen. Share Document works best for video files or PowerPoint files because they will play within a player inside of this window. The Share My Screen works best for Excel files where you have workbooks that you're going back and forth across multiple workbooks, and you can give rights to the deponent inside of that screen share to be able to control that Excel file if needed. But when I click Share My Screen, so my setup on my desk is I have a laptop and 2 external monitors. So I actually have 3 screens to choose from here. Generally I might have the deposition going on one screen. On this 3rd monitor, I might have my notes and my deposition outline and maybe any marked up exhibits that I want to be able to reference as I'm presenting the new documents. And then on the 2nd screen, I could select that and use that to present that Excel file. Generally in an in-person deposition, when you present an Excel file, you probably come in with a thumb drive, you stick it in a computer, you pull that Excel file up, you ask questions about it. After you're done asking questions, you take that thumb drive and you hand it to the court reporter to produce that Excel file as an exhibit. Here, you would click this drop down and come back to Recently Shared, and you would select the Exhibit Presentation module. And our suggestion, if you know you've got Excel files or native format files like that, that you preload a slip sheet to allow you to reference that slip sheet. What you can also do is you can click Create Blank Exhibit, and you can actually create a slip sheet. And so to do that, I can just use the text box, and I'll change it to size 26. And I'll just type in Excel file, description goes here. And so then you have the description of that Excel file, and when I add my exhibit sticker, that allows me to mark a placeholder using that slip sheet for Exhibit 121. So when we receive that Excel file from you, either through the attorney file share, or if you send it to us after the fact, we'll produce that Excel file as Exhibit 121. And this slip sheet goes into your exhibit history to denote what Exhibit 121 is. One of the other things that you can do is you can use the blank sheet as a way for the deponent or the witness to actually draw something. So, you know, if I wanted to use the pencil and say, you know, if I want to draw a crash scene and here's the intersection and we had a car right here and it was going this way, and we had a car right here and it was going this way, and you can probably tell that I've done this before. So I've got my crash scene down pat, but you know, we crashed because there was a tree that was overhanging the street and I couldn't see that car. And so then you can then mark that as an exhibit as well. So kind of like handing the witness a blank sheet of paper to draw a picture. We do have a PDF that is a comprehensive PDF that walks through basically any questions that you could possibly have with regards to presenting exhibits through HusebyConnect. I know that there's a lot of stuff that I walk through here, but this generally walks through, you know, how do I upload or preload my exhibits? How do I how do I open them, add exhibit stickers, hand a courtesy copy, give the deponent annotation rights. What it also walks through is handling different size exhibits. You know, as with any web conferencing platform, it's completely web-based. And so this walks through test exhibits that we did just to give you an idea of how it handles different file sizes. And typically, you know, exhibits that are mid-sized to smaller, the tool is going to be a lot more efficient than handling hard copy exhibits within the deposition. But if you had like a 500-page document, it could be a little bit less efficient, but still be able to handle those documents very well. Then it also just walks through presenting files natively as well. And I'm going to pop back over here to this exhibit practice module to show you that, again, this is an exact replica of the live tool. It just doesn't have a exhibit history because we don't save anything that you practice with. But if I click on one of these that I've preloaded here, you'll notice that all these editor tools are all the exact same. So it allows you to practice, you know, manipulating annotations that you would add on it. You know, you can change the color of those annotations. And then you can also practice adding your confidential stickers and your exhibit stickers. So great way for you to get familiar with how the workflow of the application works before you do your first deposition. So we did have a question: if opposing counsel presents a document to the witness for review only and does not make it an exhibit, is there a way to screenshot that document on our end, or does the recording capture a photo of that document? So we do, the application does not save anything that is not marked as an exhibit. So if you did pull something up to ask a question about it, but not actually mark it and save it as an exhibit, the system does not automatically retain a version of that. So that would be something that you would have to screen capture if you wanted to just capture that individually. How many days in advance of the deposition can we preload documents and test and try out the portal? So in terms of the exhibit practice module, you have the ability to go into that at any time once you have an account set up and utilize that to practice presenting exhibits. So you could do that a week, a month, you know, 6 months ahead of time, whatever you want. If you think that you're going to have the dynamic where you have an attorney that's asking the questions and a second chair attorney or a paralegal that's handling the pulling up of documents, and you want to practice that exchange and how that flow would work, then we can set up prep sessions or mock deposition sessions to allow you to do that prior to your actual deposition date. The other question about how many days can you preload, right now the system only allows you to preload the morning of the deposition, but you can come in. The rooms are typically available at least an hour prior if you need to have access to the room more than that. then we can certainly provide that to you. Generally, you wouldn't need that long to preload your documents, but we can certainly make that available earlier if needed. We are updating the system later this year, and having the ability to preload documents a day or two in advance is something that we're looking to add. A couple last things, just best practices. Well, the first best practice is from an audio perspective. I noticed that a lot of you, including myself, join this web conference as audio through your computers, microphone and speakers. And while you can do that on any web conferencing platform, including HusebyConnect, for the purposes of your deposition, we actually recommend that you join the audio through a phone line. And what that does is that gives you two separate connections to the deposition. So you really have a backup connection with that phone line. So, you know, if you're dealing with your home internet connection, and we all know that, you know, sometimes they can be a little wonky, and if you dropped your video or exhibit feed momentarily and needed to get logged back in, you'd still always maintain that audio connection. Or maybe your computer happened to freeze on you momentarily and you needed to reboot. If you maintain that audio connection through your mobile device or a conference phone line, then if you're the one asking questions, it's easy for you to ask for a 5-minute break. Or if opposing counsel is asking the questions, you might be able to hear everything that's going on, reboot your computer, get back on, and really not miss a beat. And then lastly, we do have a team of support team members that make sure that these events run smoothly. They assist with the testing ahead of time. They also provide in-deposition support, or pre-deposition and in-deposition support as needed. So you can, you know, access that team at any time. We also have a web page that we've developed to allow you to self-test your system, and also anyone else, opposing counsel and the opponent, to be able to self-test their system as well for the application. And to send us a testing notification just to let us know that you did test successfully. With that, that is the bulk of what I have today for you. Does anybody have any other questions for me? Happy to open that up.
And Brad, if you would like, do you want to... Go ahead, Jennifer.
No, that's okay. You go.
No, I was just going to say, do you want us to unmute participants so they can be participants in the Q&A, or how do you want to do that?
Yeah, I think that would be great. Absolutely.
Okay, let's see how we can do this.
Or participants might be able to unmute themselves individually.
That's probably better because there are quite a few on here.
Sure, absolutely. So I think somebody did have another question.
I did. So if the attorney is handling the deposition by himself and gets tripped up on exhibits, you know, entering the exhibit or whatever, or just is not technically savvy, can Huseby be in charge of presenting the exhibits, numbering the exhibits?
Yeah,
you know, once if we preload them.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you preload them into your private queue, we can't see those because we can't see anything that you preload privately. That private queue is strictly private to whoever preloads them there. That includes our technicians, and part of that is because if you don't present any documents, if you don't mark all of the documents within that queue, we don't retain copies of those. So we only retain things that you actually mark and save. So if you did need to request one of our technicians or one of our trial techs to assist with presenting and marking the exhibits, then you can certainly make that request. Typically, we prefer to have that request ahead of time because we'd want to have a technician that is solely available to assist with that, with specifically presenting and marking those exhibits for you. the technicians that monitor the events are typically monitoring multiple events at one time. So they wouldn't likely be able to hop in during the deposition to assist with the marking. But there are safeguards that we've built into the application to, so one of those safeguards is if I delete this exhibit sticker, hit delete, and then I go to click save, it's going to actually prompt me to add an exhibit stamp. Or if I click close PDF and I click yes, I want to save before closing, it's going to prompt me to add an exhibit sticker there too. So if you do have an attorney that gets a little bit tripped up and forgets to add an exhibit sticker at the beginning, the system will prompt them to add it before they close it. So we tried to work in as many of those safeguards as we could.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. Any others that I can answer in the last couple of minutes here?
Okay, well.
Yes. But yeah, hopefully
No, I'm
that
just gonna,
did a great
I was
job
gonna
of
wrap it
walking.
up. Go ahead.
Any others?
Well, Brad, thank you so much. That was a great introduction to HusebyConnect. If anyone else has any questions, Brad, are you okay with us sending your email out? If anybody does reach out and say, hey, we'd like more info on HusebyConnect, is that fine with you?
Yeah, either my email or Paul Wicker's email, which is the local account manager in Nashville. Certainly either one.
Okay. All right. A lot of people have Paul's email. He was president and treasurer and has been very involved with our organization. So we'll forward any questions to Paul. If anybody needs a CLE, please email me. I will put my email address in the chat box. And if there are no other questions, thank you so much, everybody. And we will see you all at our next Lunch and Learn on June 3rd. Amy, do you have anything that you want to add?
I do not, but I also want to thank you as well, Brad. Thank you for being our guest.
Absolutely. Happy anytime. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.